Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Unstoppable Mompreneurs Tele Summit. And today we have an extra special guest here. Our expert is Mary Catherine Johnson. And I'll tell you a bit about Mary. She's an incredible, absolutely incredible woman. She's an author, entrepreneur, and mom, and has created online success since 2003. A fall while pregnant with her second son landed her with two broken legs, her first book and business. She is now on her third business, helping other parents create their own family and entrepreneurial freedom through her podcasting, writing, mentoring, and online courses. Mary, welcome to the
Thank you
Unstoppable
so
Mom
much.
Tele Summit.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. I am so excited to be here and honored, definitely.
Wonderful. It's an honor to have you on board with us. And I'm going to jump straight in. That was it was a short bio, but my God, was it packed. So I read it and I was curious. Can you just enlighten us a bit more as to what that must have been like for you?
Yes. As far as I'm concerned, a good entrepreneur takes her experience and incorporates it not just in her life, but in her business. And that's exactly what happened with that situation you mentioned, a fall while pregnant. So I have to take you a little bit farther back from that and quickly bring you up to that moment. My husband and I were married for about 15 years before we decided we wanted to start a family. And we started trying to have a family, and it took us about a year to get pregnant, which was unheard of in my family. And so finally got pregnant. I was so excited. I told everyone. And then I had a miscarriage.
I've been there.
Which was also something that was unheard of in my family. And so I grouped myself back together. We grouped ourselves back together and started trying again.
Yeah.
And it took us another year to get pregnant. And I had another miscarriage, almost to the day of the first.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, man, I didn't remember that this was so difficult for anyone else. I mean, everyone in my family does have to think about getting pregnant or don't even think about it. It happens. And so I thought, maybe there's something wrong with me. I don't know what's going on. And so finally we decided to start again. And immediately within a month, we were pregnant again. And
Fantastic.
this one finally stuck. And so I was pregnant. I was thinking, finally, I figured this thing out. I thought it was like the hardest class I had ever taken in college. And so I don't know what possessed me, but I went to my Windows 98 computer. Yes, that's dating me. It was 1998.
Going back some time, yes.
Yes. And so I went to my Windows 98 computer and I created like this report card, like this fall semester report card. And one of the courses was Pregnancy 101. And I finally got an A+ in Pregnancy 101. And the other course was Pregnancy Prevention 101. And I finally failed pregnancy prevention. I was so excited.
Absolutely.
I took that spreadsheet and I went down to Target and bought a blank white maternity shirt. And I went to my local sports shop and asked them to put the spreadsheet on the shirt. And they did. And I wore that everywhere because I was so proud to finally be pregnant and having a baby actually cooking in there. And I got stopped everywhere I went, asking me, where did you get that shirt? Oh my gosh, I love it. My daughter's a teacher. I've got to get one of those. And I proceeded to tell them how they could make one. And they didn't want to know how to make one. They wanted to buy one.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I could do that.
Absolutely.
That's when my first business idea came. But then I went into early labor. And went into the hospital to stop the labor for a week on drugs. And then the baby came and life took over and that business took a back seat. Until I got pregnant again and took out that maternity shirt and revisited it. And everyone commented again. And by this time it's 2001. And I'm going, I can do this. And then I fell and broke both my legs.
Wow.
And I had casts up to the knee on both legs and could do absolutely nothing.
Mm.
I went through labor and delivery like that. I
Wow.
was caring for my toddler. He was 3 now,
Oh,
and then
dear.
had a newborn. And I had to do things and get through a situation I had never even imagined, with
Mm.
the strength, and I didn't have all the strength. Obviously, I had to
Mm.
grow and learn it along the way. Um, but I also had to keep my sense of humor intact.
Yes, yeah.
And finally, when I was on the other side of that and delivered a healthy baby and delivered healed legs out of these casts,
Yes.
um, I looked back and said, if I can do that, I can do anything.
Anything, anything. I
And
mean,
I picked up that business idea, and 18 months later, I opened the very first novelty maternity store online called Mommy
okay.
Moms, and that was in 2003.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So even your business was a labor of love. I mean, even that, you carried within you for more than
Yes,
9 months, but
more.
there was a gestation period within you,
Yes,
and you birthed that after the birth of your sons.
yes.
That's a truly awesome, remarkable story. Thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And again, so beautifully highlighting that there's hardly anything. Yes, there are obstacles that are going to stop us, but there is hardly anything that can really, truly stop us if we want
Yeah, and
something
that
bad
did,
enough
those two situations did stop me for a time,
for a
right?
time.
For a
Mm.
time. And I truly believe I wasn't ready then.
Mm.
I really wasn't, because there's a certain perseverance
Yes.
you have to have. There's a certain ability to be true to your identity, to who
Yes.
you are, that
Yes.
needs to happen before you can really create the success you crave. And I wasn't ready then. I just
Mm.
wasn't. So I needed to learn those things. Remember, I didn't say this, but I was a corporate woman. I was on
Mhm.
the ladder, climbing as high as I could go. That meant I worked 60 hours a week. My
Mm.
husband stayed home to take care of our first son because
Mhm.
I was the main breadwinner. So I was hard charging. When I had my first son, I would pump at work so he could have milk, and I was going to do everything. I
Yes.
was going to do it and have it all. And I really do believe these situations that happened were my lessons to say, woman, slow
Yes.
down.
Absolutely.
Find out what's really important to you and
Mm.
follow it. And if I didn't have those, for me, I was too hard charging. I mean, I probably would have. Who knows what would happen?
But you will never know. We never know. But
But
another course presented itself.
yes,
Yes. Yes. So did that have any sort of influence on your decision to become a mompreneur, being
it
so
was
hard charging?
that I think I already had the tools in place because I
Hmm.
was a very successful corporate woman. So
Hmm.
I already knew all the time management tools, and how to delegate things, and how to find resources, and how to sell. I knew how to do all those
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
Um, but what it needed to teach me was how to prioritize with my
Mm.
family, which I
Mm.
didn't have before then. It was all work.
Mhm.
It was no prioritizing with my family. Even though I kept saying that's what I wanted. I wanted to be home with my kids. How could I, if I was going to be working 60 hours a week? You're not home with
Absolutely.
them. You're doing anything
Absolutely.
with them. So that's the part I had to bring into this whole scenario.
Great. Fantastic. Now, I've been saying this on every interview so far, and I've forgotten to say it so far into our interview. I'll say it now to our listeners. Please grab a pen and a notepad if you haven't already done so. You probably know the drill by now. Mary is no exception, and she's already started off with a bang and is going to share ton loads of nuggets here that you don't want to miss. I certainly don't want to miss it. And my pen and notepad are at the ready. I've started making notes already. It's just too good to pass up. All right. So yes, please grab that. All right. So we're going to go into our second question, Mary. You probably hinted at some of them already, but what were some of the early challenges that you faced in the early days of having just started your business, and crucially, how did you overcome them?
Yes, I think really the two things that I would pinpoint as difficulties I faced in the beginning, and I'm sure you can guess these, really are time
Yes.
and my identity. Because, you know, when we have newborns, we that's all we are,
Yeah.
right? Is a mom to a newborn. That's our identity. And when we are starting a business as a startup, that's all we are, is a startup entrepreneur. We are in that, you know, Cheryl, I don't know if this will be surprising to your listeners or not, but I will tell you, because we are all moms and we know what it's like to have a newborn.
Yeah.
It consumes us. That's all we
Absolutely.
think about. That's all we talk about. We don't have sleep. We take pictures of it. We share with everyone the color of its poop, right? I mean, we do everything around being a newborn mom. The exact same thing happens when you have a startup business.
Yes.
You are consumed by it. You love it. You talk to everyone about it. You search online for it. You take pictures. You think about logos. That's all you think about, is what that should look like, and tweak this color and tweak that color. And maybe we should put this over here in our website. I mean, it's the same obsession.
Yes.
Right?
Very true.
Time and identity are the two most important things that I struggled with, and you may be too.
Most definitely. I certainly did. Yes.
Yes. And so what I did with the time is, actually, when I first started my business, probably within about a year. So this was 2003. This was before we had online calendars and all that kind of stuff. Or at least I didn't know them. And I had a calendar on my refrigerator. And I had two little boys, rambunctious boys at home, that I had to try and figure out what I was going to do with them when I had to get work done, because I had orders coming in. I had an online, before it was called e-commerce, online store. And so people would go to my store, order shirts, and I would make the shirt right there in my spare room. Fold it up, package it up, and ship it out via the post office. So I had to get orders out, but I had two rambunctious boys. So I had on the calendar, because very early on, they would compete for my attention with my computer, right?
Yes, they do.
Yes. So the way I combated that is I created that calendar and I used their favorite colors. And I created a schedule. And of course, in the beginning, it was very little time. So I would do 15 minutes or a half an hour with mom's color in there. And my favorite color is purple.
Mine too.
Purple, yes. So I had purple in there for when mom had to work. And I had green for my older son and blue for my younger son. That were their favorite colors. And so when we were going to do something just with them, I would color their time in there. So if we were going to go to the park, or if we were going to sit and watch Thomas the Tank Engine, or if we were going to cook, because they liked to play in the kitchen. So we had a little stool right next to my island that was safety stool they would stand on. This was, of course, my younger one started walking when he was about 9 months old. So so I would stand them up on this stool and I'd give them bowls, and they would mix flour and water and vinegar and anything they wanted to put in there.
Everything.
Yeah. So we would do those kinds of things, but I would put it on the calendar with their favorite color. So that when they would come and go, mommy, get off the computer, and want my attention and compete, I would bring them to the calendar and show them, this is what, and I had a clock there. This is when we're going to do your time. Right now, mommy has this. And remember, you said you were going to draw while mommy was doing that. So then in this time, we'll be able to do your whatever. But if you won't let mommy do this, then it's going to take longer for me to be able to finish so that we can do your time. So let's do that. So that really taught them patience. And of course, every child's different. Some of them may be more hyperactive than others. So you're going to have to adjust your times. But that's how I combated that. And when they got older, I took my 98 computer and I gave it to them when I upgraded to my next computer. And I had on the keyboard, there were such wonderful things then. Of course, now we have iPads and apps and, that kind of thing. But we had an actual Thomas looking structure that sat right on the keyboard. And when they would push the throttle with Thomas or push a button, it would make something happen on the computer. So it was so wonderful. They would do that while I did my work. And they had their own little table in my office. And we would all have work time. And then, of course, as they got older, they did school work when mom worked. And, so you just adapt as you go. So that's kind of what I did with time. The identity. You know, I mentioned before that your newborn business, your startup is just like your newborn. And
Yes.
actually one of my most difficult, my struggles was that I carried around that newborn way too long, that business newborn.
Mm,
So, you know, your business needs to grow just like your children grow. Our
absolutely.
children, we can't carry them around when they're
Yeah.
80 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so they adapt automatically for
Yeah.
us. Our businesses don't. So
Mm,
we need to really pay attention to when our business needs to go to the next stage, and we put it down and stop carrying it and being
mm,
obsessed by it and consumed and keeping it in that newborn stage because it's comfortable or familiar. So that
mm,
was the most difficult part. And the way I did that was I adapted. Each week, I would basically review where I was with my
mhm,
in relation to the goals that I had set for myself.
mhm,
And if I were progressing, then I would look at what do I need to outsource or delegate or
mhm,
change and adapt in order to allow myself to grow to that next stage. And so that's kind of how I changed. That's how I was able to get past the newborn stage and not get stuck. Because many of us
mhm.
get stuck.
Absolutely.
In that stage. And so that's kind of reviewing where I was in relation to where I needed to go so that I wouldn't hang on too long, because
Mm,
after a while I did hang on too long, and that
yes.
resulted in some not fun challenges, which we'll get to in a minute, I'm sure.
Okay. Now, I think that's a quite important piece that you rose there. And I thank you for your honesty, because it's a piece that a lot of us mums struggle with in our businesses. And I don't know if that has something to do with us having this internal desire for, regardless of how much, we'd like to see them move on, but for our kids to remain cute and small and cuddly and playful and all that. I don't know if there's a little bit of transfer that happens that way. I don't know, with our businesses as well. But a lot of us can hold on to the newborn phase of our businesses for far too long. I certainly did in my very first business before moving on to my current business now. I certainly did. So I hear you there. Yeah, great. So, what are some of the challenges, or perhaps just one challenge that comes up for you even now that you're more firmly established in your business, you've been doing it for quite some time?
It relates to what we were just talking about, in the
Mm,
sense that instead of hanging on too long, I've gotten myself to the ability to see where I am clearly and move forward.
mm,
But the biggest challenge for me is recognizing it before it gets here, recognizing where I need to go before I get there, so that I can put things in place to prepare for it. And really, again, the only way I get through this is weekly revisiting my short-term and long-term goals, and being very truthful and honest with myself as to where I am currently and how I'm progressing toward those goals, and if it's happening in the time span that I think it needs to happen. And really, the only thing that I can do to ensure that I'm doing that is get a coach, is get a mentor of my own, and adapt that. Basically, I sometimes, depending on the mentors, depending on how far ahead this person is that I'm paying to coach me and mentor me,
mhm,
um, I could be looking for a new mentor within 6 months because I'm
mhm.
growing, right?
Yes, yes,
Caught up
yes,
to where that
yes,
person is, and
yes,
they
you
don't
can,
necessarily
certainly.
help me that much.
Mhm,
So it's a combination of those two things. I
mhm.
always have someone who is mentoring me to the next step.
Is that to hold you accountable?
Yes, yes. And also, I mean, if we do have people mentoring us in our parenting as well, even though we
Mhm.
don't necessarily
Yes.
pay all the time,
Not
unless
a
we have
formal arrangement, but
yeah,
yes.
unless it's an actual psychologist that we visit weekly. But
Mhm.
our family members, our friends
Absolutely.
usually have older kids. We talk
Yes.
to them about what they're experiencing. It's no different with our business.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and so that's what I do. I have to revisit every week where I am in relation to where I want to go, and that helps me adapt. And I also have a coach or a mentor that is holding me accountable to getting there.
Beautiful pieces, and thank you for sharing those as well, because the weekly review keeps you current. It keeps you on top of where you are
Mhm.
and gives you a clear window of where it is that you would like to be next,
Yes.
what you need to do to bridge that gap.
Yep.
And the coach comes in to help you do just that and hold you to your word, hold you to your goals. And
Yeah.
That's it. So you've highlighted something that I think is absolutely critical, the importance of a coach. Not everyone has one. Um, people have different opinions on that, but I believe it is vitally important to have a coach. At the end of the day, we only know what we know. And we need someone to take us and help stretch us and challenge us to the next level. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. What would you say, Mary, is the number one challenge that you see holding most mompreneurs back, and how would you advise them to overcome
The exact same thing. Any of my
that?
personal clients, they probably come to me because I talk about this all the time. So that's why I probably know that this is their number one difficulty.
Yeah.
And that is the same difficulty I had, time and identity. No different. Everyone who listens to my podcast, the people who consult or talk to me afterwards or email me or on social media, it's always time. How do I fit it all in? And I had one of my clients recently say to me, I just don't have time. I just don't have time. I don't have time for this. And I had to go, okay, so do you think it's even possible to do all of this at the same time? And she has 2 sons that are in school. It's possible. And she said, no, it's not possible. Oh, wow, that's really too bad. I hate to break the news to you, but you have the exact same 24 hours that all the rest of us do.
Yeah.
No different. It's just what you choose to do with them. And I can help you figure out what you're choosing to spend your time on now and where you might be willing to change that. That's really what it is. It's not that you don't have time. It's that you're choosing to do certain things at certain times. And yes, you can grow slower without a coach, without a mentor. I didn't have a mentor and a coach in the beginning at all. I did it all myself. I had to teach myself how to create a website. I had to find credit card processing. I had to teach myself all of that. Yeah, it happened a little slower and I was still able to do it, but that's what I didn't let go of. I stayed in that mindset of I am too poor. I can't pay for that. I have to find it out on my own. I'm a DIY kind of gal. And then I got to a point where I didn't grow because I couldn't learn it as fast. My business started to suffer. So time and identity. And the number one thing I would talk about in time quickly is a little trick that I have that I practice still daily and that I have every single person that comes to me for help do. Number one, turn off all notifications on your phone, your computer, your iPad, your everything. Turn them off. Don't get any notifications other than text. Obviously, I have sons. I want to be available for their texting, right? They're going to tell me what's going on. I don't get emails on my phone. I don't have notifications of emails. I can access my email on my phone if I choose to.
Yes.
It doesn't ping me every time.
Yes.
I get, if that happened, I would never get anything done.
That's right. The same on your computer.
Same thing.
Yeah, I've done both, yes.
I had a client who came to me in the beginning in our intake conversation, and she actually came to my house, and that was just most convenient instead of meeting me at my office. That was totally fine. And she had 2 cell phones. 2 cell phones, one for work, one for personal, and they both were going off like every couple of seconds during our conversation. First off, that was the most frustrating thing I've ever seen. And I felt like, obviously, I was not that important because she kept checking and then she'd, and get all mad. And that's the first thing I said was, you need to turn those off. You turn them off. Don't get notified because you're not going to get anything done. One thing, and the next thing I'll tell you, those 2 things implemented in her business, and she doubled her revenue in 3 months.
Okay.
It's not surprising.
That's right.
She was able to actually do work.
So it freed up time, yes.
Turn off your notifications. Number 2, I have a little routine that I do every morning. And this usually takes me no more than about a half an hour total. And that is, I call it my power morning. And each letter of the word power stands for something. So the P is for peace. And that means meditation.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm talking meditation. There's an app that if you haven't heard of it yet, I would highly recommend it. And it is called Headspace. Okay. It is an incredible app. And the first 10 sessions are free, so you can see if you like it. There's a wonderful gentleman who has been he's been a Buddhist monk. It's just an incredible guy. And of course, it doesn't hurt moms that he has an incredibly sexy British accent.
Okay.
So I'll just say that. That alone should get you on this app. Okay? No, so he guides you in meditation. And it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And I cannot do more than 15 minutes. And I've been doing it for a few years. Okay. So that's totally cool that you only do 10 or 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
We're not supposed to be yogis here, right? We're mompreneurs. Okay.
Absolutely.
So P means peace. If that means prayer, meditation, quiet time, whatever it means to you, peace to get your head on straight, to really get down to who are you, not as just a mom, not as just a business owner, not as a wife or a partner. Who are you? Getting into your heart and knowing who that is. The O stands for openness. And to me, when we don't do things is when we're quite afraid of them and when we're unsure of them. We don't know what to expect. So let's say you've never done a webinar, but you're thinking, gosh, I probably should do a webinar for my business. Okay. If you've never done one, you're probably going to be closed off to that because it's kind of scary and you're going to have to find time to figure out how to do it or a person to show you. Well, the openness for me is visualization. I'm going to visualize myself doing a webinar, and I've attended enough, so I kind of have an idea what they're like, right? So even if I'm not correct in what I assume it's going to be, just that practice of going through it in my mind, what steps I might need to take. Okay, so what have I done when I've been in a webinar? I've visited a registration page. Okay, so that means I'm going to have to think about the images I'm going to use, how I'm going to title this webinar, and what times they're going to be. Okay, you see what I'm talking about? So then the registration page, then you actually visit the webinar, and there's probably email follow-ups in there. So I'm going to probably have to think about what that's going to say, and then I'm going to actually conduct the webinar. Most of them talk about who they are and why they're here and what experience they've had. So I take myself through visualizing myself going through those steps. Even though they're not exactly what needs to happen, it opens up to the possibilities in the experience, that it gets my brain thinking in the process, not just thinking webinar, this nebulous thing that's going to happen out in the cyberspace somewhere, but the actual process that might need to start happening. And that opens up my brain to get me ready for doing it.
Okay.
Every morning I think of and visualize something I'm going to do that day that either is a little bit scary or that I might not have done or that might stretch me a little bit. Okay. That's O. The W is the most important thing. Please, this is it. After you do if you do nothing else, do your meditation and the W. W is who, what, and why. So who needs my love, my attention, my patience, my experience, my guidance, whatever it is, who needs me today? Now, we mompreneurs are usually giving to everyone.
Everyone.
So I'm going to tell you right now, you have permission to pick one. Right now, today, one person you can dedicate some of your oxygen to. And you know what I mean by oxygen? We get on an airplane and they tell us the safety procedures and they talk about the little oxygen mask. What do they say? They say, put it on you first.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when we give to everyone else, we're giving them our oxygen. We're not putting the oxygen mask on ourselves. So I'm giving you permission to one person you can give some oxygen to. The rest of them, you put your oxygen mask on first. And then you can take care of everyone else. But if you absolutely need to just have to give to somebody, think you have to give your oxygen, one person. Who is that? Identify that person and what they need from you today. And then you can give it freely. But only one, not 10. Okay? So that's who.
That's good. Love this. Love it.
What are the top 3 money-making actions you need to do today? And write them down. And that could be if you are in a webinar or an ad campaign or something like that. That could be constructing the Facebook ad, right? It doesn't mean that's going to give you money right now, but it is a money-making activity that is leading you toward making money. Okay? It could be prospecting for new clients. It could be making sales calls. I mean, or it could actually be selling. Okay. But it's a money-making activity. It's not just going on Facebook and retweeting or Twitter and retweeting or Facebook and sharing, or that's not money-making activity. unless it's specifically designed toward your campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two kinds of actions I do all day. And some of them are zombie actions that basically eat away at my brain. And that's Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, Instagram, just to go there and look
Mm-hmm.
and retweet. And there are money-making actions, power actions.
Yes.
These are the power actions. So who, what, top 3 activities, and those go on your schedule first and get them done.
Mm-hmm.
And then why? Why am I here? Why am I on this earth? Why did I get up today? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Identify that. Revisit it. It will power you for longer than you can imagine. So P is for peace. O is for openness, visualization. W, who, what, and why. E is exercise. Every single day, move somehow.
Yes.
And even if you just do wall push-ups, okay? Doesn't matter. Exercise. And R is reading. Ingesting information. And that can be listening to a podcast. That can be, but it's consuming information. And that's the only time I allow myself to consume anymore, because I'm no longer in the newborn stage. In the newborn stage, you're consuming information. How do I do this? What do I do? There has to be a time when you start shifting that and producing and not consuming as much. So for me, in the stage I am now, I only allow myself that 15 minutes, half an hour to consume, because I'm producing all day.
Yes. Fantastic.
So that's
fantastic.
my
I love that. I love
the time.
I love that power piece.
Handles the identity as well. So
yes. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. So power for P for peace, O for openness, W, 3 aspects of that, who, what, and why. You have E for exercise, get moving every day, and R for reading, consuming information. Absolutely precious. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So, do you believe, Mary, and I've gotten different responses from different mompreneurs, experts who have been on the summit so far. Do you believe that anyone, or indeed any mom, can become a successful, truly successful, and I like to refer to this as holistically successful entrepreneur?
Thank you so much for saying holistically and not just monetarily or financially, because success is not money.
No, it's not at all.
To me at all, it's not money.
Yeah.
I live very modestly. You probably see my little baby grand piano back there.
Baby grand back there.
That was my mother-in-law gave it to us as a gift. And, my husband wanted to sell it during some hard times, and I just refused to let him do that. That is my precious gift. I mean, if I had to eat, I would. In a heartbeat, it's a thing, but still. I live modestly, so success is not finances. Success is holistic. It is our family growing. It is we growing personally. It is our relationship growing. So yes, absolutely, I believe anyone can be an entrepreneur, a successful mom entrepreneur. And I think there are 3 requirements. And the reason I believe this is because you can be, but you have to have these 3. You have to have the desire. I can't bring someone off the street and make them an entrepreneur if they don't want to.
That's right.
They're not ready to take the responsibilities and do the things that need to happen. So you have to have the desire. You have to have the direction.
Yeah.
Okay, so having the desire is one thing. You want to do this. But if you are not able to focus your direction and do the actions that are required to get you there, those 2 things alone, if you don't have them, you will not be successful.
I hear you.
And the third thing that is even more important than the first 2 is perseverance.
Yes.
You have to persevere through, think about your baby. Again, everything I bring back to our parenting.
Yes.
How did we get through those sleepless nights? How did we get through the up coughing all night, wondering if they were going to die and whether we were doing the right thing? Are we doing the right thing? Should I discipline? Should I let them sleep it out and cry it out? All those things. We had to persevere through them.
That's right.
We had to have the desire to be the parent and keep the child, right? We had to have the direction from others, from our mentors, our coaches, our doctors, our parents. We had to persevere. And so if you have those 3 things, you absolutely have the stepping stones, the ability to be a successful, holistically successful entrepreneur.
I agree. I certainly agree with that. No, thanks again. All right. We hear a lot about work-life balance. It was a buzzword quite some time, and still is in certain circles. And then
Yes.
more recently, I've been hearing about the blend. Which do you think you tend to veer more towards, work-life balance or a blend?
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to veer off of this one here and say neither.
Right. Okay.
Um,
We've got that.
I balance. I'm going to. I know this is a nice clean show, so I'm not going to curse. But balance is bull.
Mm.
Let's just put it that way. Let's be blunt. Balance is baloney. Blending is baloney.
Mm.
As far as I'm concerned, it's all about choice.
Mm.
Like we were talking about a minute ago about time. It's all about choice. I
Mm.
can choose to do something right now. I can choose to do my work and put my kid in front of the TV as a
Mm.
babysitter. And I've done that. I'm
Mm.
honest, total honest transparency here. There have been times when I've had to go, I have to get this done. It's
Mhm. Mhm.
Christmas tomorrow, and I
Mhm.
have to get this shirt to somebody as a Christmas gift. I've promised to do it,
Mm.
and it's going to happen. So, kids, here's your movie. Have fun. Mom
Yeah.
will be back in a minute. Let me know if you need anything, right? I
Yeah.
mean, just sometimes we have to make that choice. I'm
Yes.
going to be honest. There's never a time when everything is perfect.
That's
Perfection
true.
doesn't exist in any.
It does not. It does not.
It does not exist anywhere.
No.
So I'm not perfect. Once I accepted that possibility and accepted that reality, oh my goodness, what an amazing, wonderful weight was lifted off,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, we choose.
I
We
like
have
that.
to choose every single day because balance is, let's take this little pen, all right? Balance is, there's a point in here where it balances right in the middle. I can
Mm.
get it. And there we go. So it balanced, right? And it doesn't stay there very long, right?
Mm.
Because I'm moving, right? Here we go. That's balance. I have to stay still. We don't stay still.
No, we do
We
not.
live. So as I move, this is not going to be balanced. It doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Unless you stop and be still and stay in one place, you can't balance anything.
And even if you did, don't you think also, Mary, the world around you doesn't stop and stay
No,
still? And
no. So,
we're beings, we're human beings. We interact with others,
yes.
and or others interact with us.
Yes. And we have to make choices every single moment of every single day as our kids progress and grow, as our businesses grow, as our relationships grow. I've been married, Cheryl, for 33 years. And my relationship has changed drastically with my husband. And so I've had to adapt and grow, and he's had to adapt, and our children adapt, and we all, so we have to make choices. And so that's it. The choices you make are what creates your life. And that will determine your success, how able you are to deal with the things around you. Sometimes you have to work more, so you'll have a little more financial stress. Let's say you're, or success. Let's say you're doing a launch of some kind. Well, then you're going to have to put more time in. So then make a choice to find someone to take care of the kids for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
You just have to do that. Sometimes you're not doing this and it's running along smoothly and you can take time off. I took, like we mentioned before, I took a month off this summer and traveled to Europe for the first time with my entire family. So we were able to make that choice. I put things in place. The business ran on its own during that month. So I had to choose to do that, to make that happen. And I didn't work while I was gone. So that was a choice. It's not balance, it's a choice.
I like that. I've never, this is going to sound a bit Oprah-ish, but the word came to my mind and I thought of her, but it's not me emulating or, trying to be Oprah at all. Nothing wrong with that if I did.
No.
Wonderful woman to emulate. But it's that, never thought of it that way and never heard it, put over like that. And that is powerful because it's so true. It is so
it's
true.
in our power.
It is in our power.
Yes.
It is in our power. We do have to make those choices. Wonderful, wonderful.
Then we're not living someone else's life or someone else's idea of balance and trying to fit our lives into somebody's model of balance.
But that's what we do, though. That's what so many of us women do and are socialized to do.
Yes.
But that's another Telly Summit. We'll work on that one too. All right. Okay, so being a mompreneur for as long as you've been a mompreneur, and with your kids growing up, seeing you, be a mompreneur from the days of, colored blocked out time on your calendars, and they've had this from weird little things.
Yes.
How do you think that has impacted your children? What sort of influence, if any, has it had on your children?
I am so excited to talk to you about this because I have to tell you, moms, believe me, everything you do as an example is very powerful for your children. Okay. And the reason I say this is because my sons are now, and again, I've been an entrepreneur since 2003. They were 18 months old and almost 4 years old at the time when I started Mommy Loves, my first business. And now they are soon to be 15 and just turned 18. And so now my son, my oldest, is going to college, and we're talking about, okay, you've got to have a car. And I've been talking to him about this for a couple of years, but he's my relaxed and just kind of go with the flow kind of guy. All right. So talking about a car, talking about how you're going to pay for things. Mom and dad aren't going to just pay for everything for you. What are you going to do? You have to have a job. You have to have something to contribute. I don't expect you to work 40 hours a week. You need to focus on your studies, but you do have time to do something to contribute to your own education and to your own growth. And so talking about that, he sees his friends working at restaurants and working at grocery stores, and all they do is complain. Oh, I've got to go put on my uniform, and oh, I hate working with these people, and nah. So he came to me and said, Mom, before we had talked about the business, he's been actually doing my podcast editing. So I have a podcast, and I've already gotten him into the last almost a year now editing my podcast. So he has that skill, and he didn't realize what kind of a skill that was. He does all my editing. He knows how to tag the show. He knows how to edit the audio and make it sound good. He knows how to work in WordPress, and how to figure out how to type up all my show notes in WordPress, how to change pages, how to create pages. I mean, he knows all that stuff. And so I said to him, well, gosh, you have the skill of editing podcasts. There are new podcasts starting every day. Why don't you start a business as a podcast editor? He's like, whoa, that would be amazing. We thought about that in June of this year, of 2016. We went on vacation. So we put up a landing page, went on vacation for a month, so he couldn't do anything with it. Came back in July, and he kind of started working on it. He had a couple other trips planned, because he was now out of high school. Yeah. And he has 3 clients already, and it's only the beginning of September. And so he's already making more than, and he says this to me, oh my gosh, Mom, I'm already making more than any of my friends, and I get to do it in my pajamas.
There we go.
He says, no matter what education I get, because he's getting a degree in music. He loves music. He plays the trumpet. He loves jazz. He's just amazing. Yeah. And he says, no matter what degree I get, I can always have an online business as my income. I don't have to go out, and if an audition falls through, or if I don't get a part, or if I don't get an audition, I don't have to be a starving artist. I can have an online business. I have the ability and the skills to have an online business. And he's 18. Wow. So amazing. You think it doesn't affect your children? It is an example of what you can do. He sees, he has a choice. He can go get a job. He's thinking of joining a symphony or doing whatever. That would be a job. But he doesn't have to. He has options. He has freedom of choice.
That was
it impacts your children.
It certainly does. That was the exact word that, as I was listening to you, that went through my head. The choice. Already he has a choice, and he is aware. He's aware of it, and he's confidently aware as well. And I think that confidence piece is huge, and that's another thing that I personally believe our kids sort of get sometimes by osmosis. I believe watching us. No, they do watch us. They do watch us. Yes.
They see what's possible.
Mm.
And if we sit and talk about it all day and all we do is complain and, oh, this client and that client and why aren't people saying, you know, if all we do is complain, they're going to hear that.
They will.
And they're going to think of entrepreneurship as complaining
Absolutely.
and stressful and bad and
Yes.
not fun. And I'm not saying you're not honest with your feelings,
Mm-hmm.
but balance it out. If you want to use that word balance,
Yes, indeed.
balance it out with showing them the good and the not so good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful. Now, the final question we're at here, Mary. What would you say for you is the number one habit, the number one strategy, and the number one insider secret that have enabled you to achieve and sustain, crucially, the success that you now enjoy?
I don't think you're going to be surprised by this.
Not at all.
Not.
There it's coming already.
My number one habit is, of course, my power morning routine. Every single day, it focuses me and gets me ready for the day, and so that I know exactly what I have to do. And of course, at night, I have a similar routine where I kind of do the reverse. So I might read a little bit, but this is going to be more fiction. You know, I might read some book. Right now, I'm on one of Dan Brown's books, because Inferno, because his movie's coming out, I think, sometime next year. So I'm revisiting that book, to get me ready for the movie. So I'll read a little bit. I'll do a little bit of stretching, maybe a little bit of yoga. Then I'll revisit my who, what, and why, and how I did on it today. And then usually I'll have an evening quiet time or peace meditation thing at the evening. But in the morning, I do that with a power idea to get myself ready. And then I kind of reverse it and bring myself down from the day at night. But that power morning is it. And if I don't do it, if for some reason I don't do it, my day doesn't feel focused.
I hear you. I hear you. Sets you up for the day.
Yes, it does. It focuses so that I'm not just, haphazardly doing things. I have a direction and I take daily baby steps in the way that I want to go. So that's my habit. Strategy. I don't know if this is going to be a very good strategy for you, but really it's having a plan and adapting that plan as things change. So I think I remember back to the first business plan I ever wrote. And, you're writing a business plan and you don't even have any idea what kind of business you have or how much money it's going to make, or you really don't know. So you just kind of have to wing it.
Yes.
You make a plan, but then as you get into it, you revisit that plan and adapt it.
Yes.
So that's my strategy. I make a plan, and then as things go, I adapt it.
Yes, it speaks to that flexibility, yes?
Yes. You have to adapt. You adapt with your kids, you adapt with your business, you adapt with everything. So plan and adapt. Plan and adapt. Plan and adapt. That's my strategy.
Yes.
And then an insider secret, I have to tell you, you are not your business. You are not just a mom. You are not just a partner, a wife, a mother, a sister, a daughter. You are not any of those roles. Those are the roles you choose to fulfill. You have to really find who is in here. Who is your heart? Who are you outside of those roles? That is your true identity. That is my insider secret. When you find that and you're no longer bouncing from role to role, and you're having to make a choice between, am I an entrepreneur now, or am I a mom now, or am I going to go on a date night with my husband when I really would rather be in front of the computer writing my next blog post? Okay. So you really have to find who you are, your identity. Once you find that, all those roles fall into place, and you can fulfill them with the greatest joy and gratitude that you could ever imagine. It really opens you up. That's my insider secret. If you determine that identity, who you are outside of those things, your meaning, your purpose, your gratitude, your joy will all be realized, and those will all lead you to the freedom that you really, really desire.
I cannot add to that, Mary, and neither should I really. It was beautifully said and meant, and for me, beautifully received. And I would be willing to bet, if I were a betting woman, that what you have said throughout, and in particular your closing remarks here, have just touched very deeply the hearts of many of the mompreneurs listening there, because it's so true. And what you highlighted is that in really getting connected with who you really are and really becoming comfortable and embracing who you truly are opens you up to be, do, and have so much more.
It helps you be unstoppable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful. Mary, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight having you as an interview guest, and thank you for all your generous sharings. It's just super powerful. Yeah. So with that, we are going to close. I'd like to thank our listeners for joining us and being a part of this interview. I hope you would have all left with at least as many nuggets as I have been able to capture. I will definitely, as I have been doing with all my interviews, I'll definitely be listening to Mary again with my notepad, filling in bits that I have missed. It's been truly, truly an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I have a free gift for you,
too. Yes, your free gift. Sorry, we can't forget that. Yes, please. Tell us what your free gift is.
Yes,
I just became so carried away with, the beauty of your closing and power and impact of your closing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't tell you. That's, if anything in this world, if we touch each other as true human beings, we have done our job.
Absolutely.
We find out who we are and touch others with who we are. We've done our job. So you are just, I'm so grateful for you sharing that. I'm so grateful. So I want to help your audience do the exact same thing.
Yes. Tell us about your free gift.
So I have I'm calling it the Unstoppable Mompreneur Identity Course.
Fantastic.
Because that's what we're talking about. So what you can find it, and it's a free course. You can find it at powerparentsacademy.com/unstoppable. Okay, so that's powerparentsacademy.com/unstoppable. And what this is going to do, it is going to help you uncover your identity. So we talk about clarifying what you do. And that's as what you do, not who you are. So clarifying what you do, clarifying who you help, and having the power of what you do presented with you. So we go over these things, clarifying what you do, the power of what you do, batching what you do so that you can uncover your time. I do everything batched. It's when I do podcasts, I don't do just one at a time. I do a whole day of podcasting when I'm in there. So I don't have to open up all the stuff again. I do it all at once. So batching what you do, clarify, power, batch, adapt. So all of those things are uncovered in there, but we uncover them in relation to what you do, not who you are, so that we separate that out and get really to the heart of who you are.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay, so it's an identity course if you're interested.
Great. That's an enormously generous gift. Thank you very, very much, Mary, for offering that to our listeners. I'll certainly have a listen as well. Thank you. All right, so this is where we get to say goodbye. We'll have a little bit of a chatter if you hold on afterwards, but we'll say goodbye to our guests and thank you, our listeners, and thank you again so much for joining us. And please come back for the other juicy, nugget, power-filled interviews. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Okay.